All right, Krishna, everyone, this is acyuta-bhava, and today for Bhakti Wednesday, we are going to continue talking about the universal form of God, which in Bhakti Yoga is discussed in a variety of different ways in different sacred texts like the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad-gita, and others. So today I'm going to read you guys chapter 11 from the Bhagavad-gita, which is titled The Universal Form in the translation that I read, and actually you'll find it in a number of translations translated roughly the same for this portion of the Gita. So in this chapter, Arjuna, just a little context in case you've never heard the Gita before, Arjuna is a warrior on a battlefield within the context of a great epic called the Mahabharata. And he's on a battlefield and he's asking his chariot driver, who happens to be Krishna, his chariot driver happens to be God. So you have a good driver. And it's a civil war and he doesn't want to be participating in it. And he's asking Krishna what to do about this situation that he finds himself in, which he finds to be very difficult. And it's sort of like it's impossible to, make a decision as to what to do and how to conduct himself without feeling like he's doing something wrong religiously. He's doing something wrong by killing people. He might be letting himself down or others down by not doing his duty as a warrior. He could be doing the wrong thing as a yogi. So he's really perplexed as to what to do in this really difficult sort of ethical dilemma. Krishna on the battlefield, paused as they are between two armies, instructs Arjuna in what is called the Bhagavad-gita, which is a section of the Mahabharata. And within that section, sometimes the Bhagavad-gita also called the Song of God. And it's really these beautiful instructions about the meaning of life, the reality of the soul, the reality of suffering, the reality of God, what we do about suffering. So he teaches Arjuna yoga. And the form of yoga that he espouses, that he teaches as the highest form is called Bhakti, which is really, sometimes you could just translate it as the yoga of love and devotion. So in this chapter, Arjuna has heard Krishna speak on a lot of matters already. And he then says that he wants to see Krishna's universal form. He wants to see Krishna as the universe. So if you watched part 1 of this series last week, we know that God has many different forms and many different names. And in Bhakti, the universal form is one of them. It's not the only one, and there are some reasons why we prefer a personal form over universal form that we started talking about last week, but we're going to learn more about the universal form tonight in this beautiful chapter. So here we go. Chapter 11. Arjuna said, I have heard your instruction on confidential spiritual matters, which you have so kindly delivered unto me, and my illusion is now dispelled. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity as realized through your inexhaustible glories. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see here before me your actual position, I yet wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that universal self. The blessed Lord said, my dear Arjuna, O son of Pritha, behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine forms, multicolored like the sea. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Rudras, and all the demigods. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Whatever you wish to see can be seen all at once in this body. This universal form can show you all that you now desire, as well as whatever you may desire in the future. Everything is here completely. But you cannot see me with your present eyes. Therefore, I give to you divine eyes, by which you can behold my mystic opulence. Sanjaya said, O king, speaking thus, the Supreme, the Lord of all mystic power, the personality of Godhead, displayed his universal form to Arjuna. Arjuna saw in that universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was garlanded gloriously, and there were many scents smeared over his body. All was magnificent, all expanded, unlimited. Excuse me, all was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited. This was seen by Arjuna. If hundreds of thousands of suns rose up at once into the sky, they might resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person in that universal form. At that time, Arjuna could see in the universal form of the Lord the unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, although divided into many, many thousands. Then, bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna began to pray with folded hands, offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Arjuna said, "My dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, I see in your universal body many, many forms, bellies, mouths, eyes, expanded without limit. There is no end, there is no beginning, and there is no middle to all of this. Your form, adorned with various crowns, clubs, discs, is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, which is fiery and immeasurable like the sun. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the best in all universes. You are inexhaustible and the oldest, the maintainer of religion, the eternal personality of Godhead. You are the origin without beginning, middle, or end. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are among your great unlimited eyes. By your own radiance, you are heating this entire universe. Although you are one, you are spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O great one, as I behold this terrible form, I see that all the planetary systems are perplexed. All the demigods are surrendering and entering into you. They are very much afraid, and with folded hands, they are singing the Vedic hymns. The different manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadyas, the Vishvadevas, the two Ashvins, the Maruts, the forefathers, and the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, Asuras, and all perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your many faces, eyes, arms, bellies, and legs, and your terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions, I am bewildered. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings and Bhishma, Drona, and Karna, and all our soldiers are rushing into your mouths, their heads smashed by your fearful teeth. I see that some are being crushed between your teeth as well. As the rivers flow into the sea, so all these great warriors enter into your blazing mouths and perish. I see all people rushing with full speed into your mouths as moths dash into a blazing fire. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds you are manifest. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. I do not know what your mission is, and I desire to hear of it. The blessed Lord said, Time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to engage all people. With the exception of you, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Therefore, get up and prepare to fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement. And you, O Sabasachin, can be but an instrument in the fight. The blessed Lord said, all the great warriors, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, are already destroyed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna trembled fearfully, offered obeisances with folded hands, and began falteringly to speak as follows. O Hrishikesha, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. O great one who stands above even Brahma, you are the original master. Why should they not offer their homage up to you, O limitless one, O refuge of the universe? You are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material creation. You are the original personality, the Godhead. You are the only sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You know everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are above the material modes of nature, O limitless form. This whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. You are air, fire, water, and you are the moon. You are the supreme controller and the grandfather. Thus I offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times and again and yet again. Obeisances from the front, from behind, and from all sides, O unbounded power. You are the master of limitless might. You are the all-pervading, and thus you are everything. I have in the past addressed you as, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, without knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times while relaxing together or eating together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. Please excuse me for all of my offenses. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation, the worshipable chief, the spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. Within the three worlds, you are immeasurable. You are the supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respects and ask your mercy. Please tolerate the wrongs I may have done to you and bear with me as a father with his son, or a friend with a friend, or a lover with his beloved. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. O universal Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. The blessed Lord said, My dear Arjuna, happily do I show you this universal form within the material world by my internal potency. No one before you has seen this unlimited and glaringly effulgent form. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charities or similar activities can this form be seen. Only you have seen this. Your mind has been perturbed upon seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free from all disturbance. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, while speaking thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last he showed him his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, my mind is now pacified, and I'm restored to my original nature. The blessed Lord said, my dear Arjuna, the form which you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. The form which you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. My dear Arjuna, one who is engaged in pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. This is a beautiful, beautiful passage. I just love that chapter. And so again, we find ourselves in a similar position where Arjuna finds himself, as we did in last week's episode, he has God hanging out with him like another human being in a form that's very familiar to him. And he's like, yeah, but cool, you give me a lot of good instructions about life, but can I see like the mystical stuff? Can I see the big universal form? And he reveals the universal form, and what happens? Well, it's beautiful and it's terrifying because it is everything, right? And as Arjuna beholds everything, his response is awe, wonder, and finally fear and madness. And it's really important that by the end, we understand that the awe, the reverence, the veneration, the fear, the wonder, it's pretty spectacular. It's like a big fireworks display going off. But eventually, Arjuna's like, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. I miss the intimacy. I miss the sweetness. I miss the personhood of God. So God comes back, Krishna comes back into his four-armed form and then his two-armed form like another human being. It doesn't mean that God is a human being. It means that God is a personal being and that beings are real and personal in general, that all creation, that all of God's creation are have individual, autonomous dignity, sanctity, choice. And the ultimate choice is whether to love God or not. And this is why Krishna says, the only way that people can see me in this common form that you love, it doesn't freak them out or cause radical veneration or total awe and wonder and fear and this kind of spectacular, mind-blowing stuff is by love. The translation that Srila Prabhupada uses, the guru who did this translation, is devotional service. He really wanted to make the point that to love God means to serve God. To serve God means to serve other beings. To love God means to actively show affection and love and tenderness toward God through the practices of bhakti, through the processes of bhakti, like chanting, kirtan, reading. In different traditions, it might be writing poetry, like a love poetry to God. Whatever it is, it's an action. It's not just a sentiment. But the word bhakti, which Prabhupada translates as devotional service, has many meanings. And most of them have to do with affection and sweetness and attachment in love and devotion. So in bhakti, we say that the universal form is there and it's great. And sometimes it comes into our lives to remind us, like, don't forget your place. Don't be filled with pride and ego, because we're little in the grand scheme of things, and we have to be humble. And there's this kind of sacred fear that sometimes we need. So sometimes God comes in as a very powerful force, and often we experience that somewhat impersonally through the laws of karma, and it can be actually very scary. And the universe can feel like a vast, overwhelming place. We can feel very alone. So it's the universe is a big, complicated thing in bhakti. The universal form of God is powerful, overpowering, terrifying, beautiful. It's a lot of things at once. In bhakti, we say that most people really what they're looking for is that sweetness, that intimate, personal sweetness. And this is the kind of sweetness that when we practice and when we cultivate it in service, devotional service of bhakti, it should translate into having a more divine way of seeing other beings, and that translates into love, tenderness, and affection for other beings. And this is what God is so pleased with. In many other passages in the Bhagavad-gita and in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, look, if you share this with other people, that hands down is the thing that makes me happiest. When you share this love, when you share this devotion, when you talk to people about me and also share the love of God with other people, that hands down makes me the happiest. So, Krishna loves his devotees. And if we want to make Krishna happy, we serve Krishna's devotees. So remember that everyone out there is a devotee. Everyone out there is born a child of God. And if we try to do things with our lives that enhance the love in other people's lives and in their hearts, enhance the joy and happiness in other people's lives and hearts, that makes God happy. That's one way of serving God. And then there's also an intimate space too. I love that Arjuna says, when he's really losing his marbles, he goes, I'm so sorry. We've hung out on, the couch sitting around chatting as friends. And I totally forgot that you were like this almighty God, And it's like, how nice of God to let us forget. How nice of God that God is like, yeah, well, you don't have to hang out thinking of me like that all the time. I don't like hanging out that way all the time. It's really the best thing I like is appearing in a very, very intimate, personal way with people. So at any rate, I hope that all of you listening and taking in these Bhakti Wednesday talks will consider a Bhakti practice. Maybe you're not into the cultural, the Indian cultural trappings of Bhakti, and you can't imagine yourself getting into like an official Bhakti yoga community. That's fine. You don't have to. You can have a journal. You write to God every day, pour out your heart, give God some affection. You can love other people because you train yourself to see God in them. You can listen to programs like this. You can listen to sacred music that helps you to recognize the divine in everything. And we keep taking steps like this and making remembrance of God the daily heartbeat of our lives. Remembrance of God can happen in a lot of different ways. But if we're tapped into that every single day, the best evidence is that we start loving more and more. We're tender, our hearts are softening, our words and our thoughts are softening, our reactions are softening to things that are difficult. And we become softer as we also become sharper and more brilliant and dazzling instruments of God, of grace, of mercy, of love, of forgiveness, of tolerance, of peace, of compassion. And it's a little by little process. That's why it has to be every day. It's not, we don't transform ourselves into saintly beings just because we have the right beliefs or the right philosophy. You know, it's got to be something that we try to do every day. That's why I love Srila Prabhupada translating bhakti as devotional service. So at any rate, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little series on the universal form of God. And I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that I have in line for us, some other really cool passages and readings and stories and philosophical topics and things like that. But if you ever have questions you'd like me to approach in this Bhakti series, as you're listening, learning more about Bhakti, questions, something you don't get or something you have a question about, feel free to email me, info@nightlightastrology.com, put Bhakti Q&A in the subject line. All right. Until next time, Hare Krishna.